Listen carefully. The law of attraction does not respond to your wishes, your affirmations, or your hope. It responds to alignment. And if your inner state is misaligned, even slightly, nothing you want can reach you. This audiobook reveals the one non-negotiable internal shift that decides whether manifestation works or fails every single time. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. If your reality isn't changing, it's because you are not aligned yet, and once you understand what alignment actually is, you will never struggle to manifest again. Chapter 1: Stop hoping, start aligning. Hope feels good, and that is exactly why it keeps you stuck. Hope gives you emotional relief without demanding change. Hope allows you to imagine a better future while staying the same person in the present. Hope whispers, maybe one day. And the law of attraction does not respond to maybe. This chapter is going to make you uncomfortable on purpose, because if you are still hoping, you are not aligned. And if you are not aligned, manifestation cannot work, no matter how many affirmations you repeat. Here is the truth most people never hear. Hope is passive. Alignment is active. Hope waits. Alignment adjusts. Hope asks. Alignment commands. Say that again. Hope asks. Alignment commands. Hope is emotional outsourcing. Alignment is internal responsibility. When you hope for something, you are subtly admitting that you do not expect it. You are placing the outcome outside of yourself. You are saying, I don't have this yet, and I don't know if I ever will. And the law of attraction responds instantly to that signal. Not to your words, not to your vision board, but to your inner position. If you are positioned as someone who hopes, you attract uncertainty. If you are positioned as someone who aligns, you attract inevitability. Let's make this practical. Think about someone who says, I hope I get that job. I hope they text me back. I hope things finally work out. Notice the emotional tone. There is tension. There is waiting. There is a subtle shrinking of the self. Now compare that to someone who says nothing, but internally adjusts. They calm their nervous system. They release urgency. They move through their day as if the outcome is already handled. One is loud. The other is powerful. Desperate wanting repels outcomes because desperation is a declaration of lack. Calm alignment attracts outcomes because calm is the emotional signature of already having. This is why some people manifest effortlessly while others struggle for years. It's not because they want more, it's because they need less. Hope keeps need alive. Alignment dissolves it. Here's the part most people resist. You do not align by thinking harder. You align by regulating your inner state. Alignment is not visualization. Alignment is emotional posture. Ask yourself this honestly. When you think about what you want, do you feel calm or tense? Do you feel grounded or restless? Do you feel neutral or charged with urgency? Urgency is misalignment. Excitement mixed with anxiety is misalignment. Constant anticipation is misalignment. Alignment feels almost boring, and that's why people don't trust it. They think, if I don't feel excited, I must not want it enough. Wrong. Excitement is not power. Stability is. This is why people sabotage manifestations right before they arrive. They start hoping harder. They start checking. They start watching the clock. They shift from alignment back into asking, and the signal changes. Let me give you a real-world example. Think about ordering food at a restaurant you trust. You don't hope it comes. You don't visualize the waiter. You don't affirm, my food is arriving. You order, and then you relax. That relaxed expectation is alignment. Now imagine sitting there anxiously, checking the kitchen every 30 seconds, wondering if they forgot you. That is hope energy. Same desire, different signal. One assumes delivery, the other doubts it. Your manifestations work the same way. Alignment is not emotional intensity. Alignment is emotional certainty, and certainty does not need reassurance. This chapter is asking you to stop doing something that feels productive but isn't. Stop hoping. Hope is a habit, and like any habit, it can be replaced. Here is how you begin replacing it, starting today. First instruction: when a desire comes up, stop fantasizing about the outcome. Fantasizing keeps the desire in the future. Alignment brings your nervous system into the present. Instead of imagining the result, ask, how would I feel after this is already handled? Not excited, not euphoric. Handled. That feeling is usually calm, neutral, grounded. Stay there. Second instruction: stop talking about what you want with emotional charge. Every time you explain your dream with urgency, you reinforce its absence. You don't need to announce alignment. Aligned people move quietly. Third instruction: notice when you say, I hope, and interrupt it. Replace it internally with, this is already in motion. Or better yet, say nothing at all and return to calm. Silence is alignment's native language. This is where people push back. They say, if I stop hoping, won't I stop caring? No, you won't stop caring. You'll stop clinging. Caring is clean. Clinging is noisy. The law of attraction does not respond to noise. It responds to signal clarity, and hope is a mixed signal. Hope says, I want this, but I'm not sure. Alignment says, this matches me. No begging, no pleading, no convincing. Command. This is why the phrase matters. Say it again. Hope asks. Alignment commands. When you command internally, you don't force externally. You don't chase. You don't manipulate. You adjust your inner position and let reality respond. And it always does. Not because you deserve it. Not because you tried harder, but because you stopped broadcasting lack. This chapter is the foundation of everything that follows. If you don't understand the difference between hoping and aligning, nothing else in this audiobook will work, because every advanced technique collapses without this base. You don't manifest by wanting more. You manifest by needing less. And in the next chapter, we go even deeper into the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. The law of attraction does not respond to what you want at all. It responds to who you are being, and that changes everything. Chapter 2: The law responds to who you are, not what you want. Most people are trying to manifest from the wrong level. They focus on desire. They focus on goals. They focus on what they want. And the law of attraction ignores all of it. Because the law does not respond to what you want. It responds to who you are being while you want it. This is where manifestation either becomes effortless or impossible. Let's say this clearly, slowly, and repeatedly until it lands. You do not attract goals. You attract confirmations of your self-concept. Say the phrase out loud. Reality reflects identity, not intention. Again, reality reflects identity, not intention. If your identity does not match the outcome cannot stay even if it appears briefly. This is why people get short wins and long losses. This is why opportunities show up and disappear. This is why manifestations almost happen. They touched the desire, but never changed the identity. Here's what most people are doing. They are affirming wealth while identifying as someone who struggles. They are visualizing love while identifying as someone who is unchosen. They are asking for confidence while identifying as someone who doubts. And then they wonder why nothing sticks. Affirmations don't override identity. Visualization doesn't override identity. Hope doesn't override identity. Identity overrides everything. Your self-concept is the filter reality passes through before it reaches you. If it doesn't match, it gets distorted or blocked entirely. Let's make this uncomfortable and real. Think about money. There are people who say, I want to be wealthy. They say it daily. They think about it constantly. But internally, they identify as someone who never has enough. Someone who always struggles. Someone who isn't good with money. Now watch what happens. They may receive money, but it leaves. They may get opportunities, but they mismanage them. They may earn more, but their expenses mysteriously rise. Not because the universe is punishing them, because reality is matching their identity. The law is precise. It does not negotiate. Reality reflects identity, not intention. This is why trying to manifest harder never works. You can't overpower identity with effort. You can't override self-concept with repetition. You have to become someone else internally, and no one tells you how to do that. So let's break it down. Your identity is not what you say you are. It is what feels normal to you. Normal relationships, normal income, normal treatment, normal emotional states. That normal is your set point, and the law of attraction works to maintain it. This is why sudden success feels uncomfortable to some people. This is why love feels unsafe to others. This is why peace feels boring to those addicted to chaos. Their identity has not expanded, so reality snaps back. Let me give you a simple test. Ask yourself, what outcome would feel uncomfortable to receive right now? Not exciting, uncomfortable. That answer reveals the edge of your identity, and manifestation cannot cross that edge until you do. This chapter is about shifting from wanting to being, because wanting keeps you outside the experience. Being places you inside it. Here's the mistake people make. They try to act as if externally while remaining the same internally. They post confidence. They speak affirmations. They copy behaviors. But inside, their self-talk hasn't changed. Their emotional baseline hasn't changed. Their expectations haven't changed. So the law doesn't change its response. You don't manifest what you rehearse verbally. You manifest what you rehearse emotionally. Identity lives in emotion. This is why people can say, I am confident while feeling insecure. The feeling wins every time. Now listen carefully. You don't need to become delusional. You need to become congruent. Congruence means your inner experience matches the outcome you want, not the excitement, not the fantasy, the normalcy. Wealthy people feel neutral about money. Secure people feel calm about relationships. Confident people feel steady, not hyped. That steadiness is identity. So how do you shift identity without pretending? You stop asking, what do I want? And you start asking, who would this be normal for? Then you work backward. Let's say you want financial stability. Someone for whom stability is normal does not constantly check their account. They do not emotionally react to small fluctuations. They make decisions without panic. So here's the instruction. Start practicing the emotional behaviors of the identity, not the outcome. Stop trying to feel rich. Start practicing emotional neutrality around money. Stop trying to feel loved. Start practicing emotional security alone. Stop trying to feel powerful. Start practicing calm self-trust. Identity shifts through repetition of emotional states, not thoughts. This is why this audiobook keeps repeating itself. Repetition builds familiarity. Familiarity builds normalcy. Normalcy builds identity. And identity shapes reality. Say it again. Reality reflects identity, not intention. This is also why waiting for evidence is a trap. If you need proof to feel different, you're stuck in the old identity. The new identity feels different before proof arrives. That's the paradox. You don't feel worthy because you're chosen. You're chosen because you feel worthy. You don't feel confident because you succeed. You succeed because confidence is familiar. The law is not testing you. It is mirroring you, and mirrors don't change first. So here is your practical assignment from this chapter. One behavior, done daily. Notice where you emotionally disqualify yourself. Moments like, that probably won't happen to me. People like me don't get that. I always mess this up. That voice is identity speaking. Do not fight it. Do not affirm over it. Simply pause and withdraw belief from it. You don't need to replace it with positivity. You need to stop feeding it certainty. Identity weakens when you stop believing it is truth. And as it weakens, reality starts rearranging. Not dramatically, not instantly, but unmistakably, because the signal changed. This chapter is the pivot point of the entire audiobook. If Chapter 1 taught you to stop hoping, this chapter teaches you why hoping fails, because hope lives at the level of desire, and the law operates at the level of identity. Until who you are matches what you want, manifestation will feel inconsistent. But once identity shifts, even slightly, results accelerate. And in the next chapter, we go deeper into the mechanism that makes identity readable to the universe at all. Thoughts are not enough. Words are not enough. There is one gatekeeper that determines whether identity is transmitted or blocked, and it's emotional. Chapter 3, Emotional Alignment, is the gatekeeper. If you understand nothing else in this audiobook, understand this. Emotion is the signal. Thought is secondary. You can think the right thoughts and still block everything. You can say the right words and still repel results. Because the law of attraction does not respond to language, it responds to emotional frequency. Say the phrase now. Emotion is the language the universe listens to. Again, emotion is the language the universe listens to. Thoughts are instructions. Emotions are confirmations. Thoughts propose. Emotions approve or reject. This is where most people fail. They obsess over mental techniques while ignoring their emotional state. They affirm while anxious. They visualize while tense. They script while impatient. And they wonder why nothing moves, because the emotional gate is closed. Emotion is the gatekeeper. If the emotion does not match the outcome cannot enter your experience. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. Your emotional state broadcasts constantly, every second, without effort. You don't turn it on, you don't turn it off, and the universe doesn't debate it, it responds. Let's dismantle a common lie. People think strong emotion equals strong manifestation. Wrong. Strong emotion often equals resistance, especially when that emotion is obsession, urgency, or desperation. Those emotions say one thing clearly: I don't have this yet, and I need it to happen. And need is the opposite of alignment. Calm certainty manifests faster than emotional obsession every time, not because it's more exciting, because it's congruent. Let's look at real behavior. Case 1. Someone wants a relationship. They think about it constantly. They replay conversations. They analyze texts. They feel highs and crashes. Emotionally, they are unstable. They might visualize love, but emotionally, they are broadcasting insecurity. What do they attract? Hot and cold behavior, mixed signals, unreliable people. Why? Because the emotional signal is mixed. Case 2. Another person wants a relationship, but they are emotionally steady. They are calm, they are grounded, they are not waiting. They are open but not attached. They don't talk about it much. They don't monitor it. What happens? People lean in, consistency shows up, momentum builds, same desire, different emotion, different result. Say it again. Emotion is the language the universe listens to. This applies to money, health, opportunities, everything. People who obsess over money rarely keep it. People who feel neutral around money manage it well. People who fear losing opportunities attract instability. People who assume stability experience continuity. Emotion sets the frequency. Frequency determines the match. This is why manifestation speeds up when you stop caring so much. Not because you stopped wanting, because you stopped resisting. Resistance is emotional friction, and friction slows everything down. Now here's where this chapter gets practical and uncomfortable. You do not need to generate positive emotion. You need to remove conflicting emotion. Most people try to feel good artificially. They hype themselves up. They chase excitement. That doesn't work. The goal is not happiness. The goal is emotional coherence. Coherence means your emotional state is stable, calm, and consistent. That state sends a clean signal. The universe doesn't need intensity, it needs clarity. This is why boredom is powerful. When something feels boring, it feels normal. When it feels normal, it aligns with identity. When identity aligns, reality follows. High emotion creates noise. Low emotion creates signal strength. Think about the times in your life when things worked easily. You weren't desperate. You weren't fixated. You weren't trying to control the outcome. You were relaxed. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Here's a critical distinction you must understand. Excitement and anxiety feel similar in the body, same energy. Different interpretation. Most people confuse excitement for alignment, but it's often anxiety in disguise. Racing thoughts, increased heart rate, constant anticipation. That's not power, that's instability. And instability broadcasts unpredictability. Calm certainty feels flat to people addicted to emotional intensity. They think, if I don't feel something, it's not working. Wrong. If you don't feel charged, it is working, because you're no longer interfering. Now let's talk about how to actually align emotionally, not theory, behavior. First instruction: stop using emotion to motivate manifestation. You don't need to feel inspired to align, you need to feel regulated. Alignment is nervous system work. When you feel urgency, pause. When you feel impatience, slow down. When you feel obsession, step away. Not from the desire, but from the emotional spike. You are not killing momentum. You are stabilizing it. Second instruction: practice emotional neutrality daily. Neutral does not mean numb. It means balanced. Spend time each day deliberately doing nothing about your desire. No thinking, no planning, no checking, just presence. This trains your system to feel safe without outcome dependency. And safety is a powerful signal. Third instruction: watch your emotional reactions to delays. Delays reveal misalignment. If you get frustrated, anxious, or discouraged, that's feedback, not failure. The law is showing you where emotional attachment still exists. Don't judge it, don't suppress it. Notice it and soften it. Emotional softening is alignment. Now let's destroy another myth. People think emotional alignment means feeling good all the time. No, it means feeling stable most of the time. You're allowed to feel disappointed. You're allowed to feel doubt. What matters is how long you stay there. Aligned people recover quickly. They don't spiral. They don't dramatize. They don't assign meaning. They return to baseline. Baseline is power. Because baseline emotion is what manifests, not peak moments, not breakdowns. Baseline. So ask yourself, what is my emotional baseline when I think about what I want? Is it calm or restless? Is it grounded or tense? That answer tells you everything. And here's the tough love truth. If you refuse to regulate your emotions, manifestation will remain inconsistent. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're sending mixed signals. The universe does not decode confusion, it mirrors it. Say the phrase one more time. Emotion is the language the universe listens to. This chapter locks in a critical pillar of alignment. Chapter 1 taught you to stop hoping. Chapter 2 taught you identity shapes reality. This chapter teaches you how identity is transmitted through emotion. If your emotional state is misaligned, nothing else matters. But once emotional alignment becomes your priority, everything accelerates. And in the next chapter, we address the most common habit that instantly breaks emotional alignment, even for advanced practitioners. It's subtle, it feels logical, and it quietly resets lack. Chapter 4: Stop checking for results. This chapter will confront one of your most addictive habits: checking for results, checking for signs, checking to see if it's working. And here is the truth you may not want to hear: checking is proof you don't believe. Say it: checking is proof you don't believe. Every time you check, you send a signal of lack. Every time you look for evidence, you declare absence. Every time you monitor progress, you reset misalignment. This is not punishment. This is mechanics. Checking feels logical. It feels responsible. It feels like awareness, but energetically, checking is doubt disguised as diligence. The law of attraction does not respond to vigilance, it responds to expectation, and expectation does not need surveillance. Let's break this down carefully. When you check for results, what are you actually saying? You are saying, "It's not here yet, I need proof, I don't trust the process." And the universe responds honestly, by keeping it not here yet, not to teach you a lesson, but to match your internal state. Say the phrase again, checking is proof you don't believe. This is one of the most common ways people sabotage alignment, especially after doing everything right. They visualize, they affirm, they calm their emotions, and then they check, they refresh their phone, they open their bank app, they scan for signs, and in that moment, alignment breaks. Because alignment assumes delivery, checking questions it. Let's make this real. You send a message to someone you're interested in. If you are aligned, you send it and move on. If you are misaligned, you send it and hover. You check if they saw it. You check the time. You replay what you said. That checking is not harmless. It broadcasts insecurity. It creates pressure. It shifts the dynamic. And often the response delays or disappears, not because the other person knows, because you shifted internally. Another example, money. You affirm abundance. You visualize stability. Then you check your bank account 5 times a day. Each check reinforces it's not enough yet, so reality continues reflecting not enough. Same with opportunities, same with health, same with timing. Checking is a micro behavior, but it carries a macro signal. It says, "I don't trust that this is handled." And trust is the foundation of alignment. Here's the paradox. The more you check, the longer it takes. The less you check, the faster it moves. Not because checking causes delay physically, because checking maintains emotional dependence. And emotional dependence is resistance. Aligned people do not wait, they proceed. They don't pause life to watch manifestation arrive. They live as if it's already scheduled. That's the difference. Let's destroy another illusion. People think checking keeps them aware. No, checking keeps you attached. Awareness is calm observation. Attachment is emotional monitoring. One is aligned, the other is needy, and the law does not respond to need. Say it again. Checking is proof you don't believe. Now let's talk about signs. Waiting for signs is one of the most deceptive traps in manifestation culture because it feels spiritual. It feels intuitive, but most of the time, waiting for signs is just checking with a prettier label. If you need signs to believe, you don't believe. Aligned people don't ask, "Is this working?" They assume it is. An assumption is powerful. Think about anything in your life that already works. You don't check if gravity is working. You don't look for signs your phone will turn on. You assume consistency. That assumption removes emotional charge, and emotional neutrality is alignment. Now here's the tough love part. If you are constantly checking, you are not ready to receive yet. Not because you're bad, because you're still positioning yourself as someone who waits. And waiting is identity. Identity always wins. So what do you do instead? You don't suppress the urge to check. You replace the behavior. Here are clear instructions. First instruction, when you feel the urge to check, pause for 10 seconds. Don't fight the urge. Observe it. Ask yourself one question. What am I afraid I'll find? That answer reveals the lack you're reinforcing. Second instruction, redirect attention to embodiment, not outcome. Instead of checking the phone, check your posture. Instead of checking the account, check your breathing. Instead of checking for signs, check your emotional state. Bring attention back into the body. The body anchors alignment. Third instruction, schedule non-checking windows. Decide specific periods where you do not look, ask, or monitor. Not forever, just intentionally. This trains trust. Trust is a muscle. It grows through non-action. Now let's address resistance. People say, but what if I miss something? You won't. What is aligned for you does not require vigilance. Opportunities that need chasing are not aligned. Messages meant for you arrive without monitoring. Money meant for you shows up without panic. Checking doesn't create readiness. It creates tension, and tension delays reception. This is why manifestations often arrive when people give up, not because giving up is magic. Because giving up checking releases resistance. They stop hovering, they stop watching, they stop interfering, and reality finally has space to move. Let me be clear, this is not about pretending you don't care. It's about caring without controlling. Control is fear in action, and fear always slows things down. Say the phrase again. Checking is proof you don't believe. Belief is quiet, doubt is noisy. Aligned people are quiet internally. They don't announce, they don't track, they don't chase reassurance. They expect. Expectation is not emotional, it's positional. You stand in expectation, you don't lean forward into it. Here's a powerful reframe. Instead of asking, is it here yet? Ask, am I behaving like someone who trusts? That one question collapses checking instantly, because trust doesn't need updates. This chapter is critical because checking is subtle. You can do everything else right and undo it with one scroll, one refresh, one glance. Alignment is fragile when you're learning it, so discipline matters. Not discipline of effort, but discipline of non-interference. Stop interrupting the process. Stop leaning into the doorway waiting for reality to walk through. Step back. Let it come to you. This chapter connects directly to the core theme of the audiobook. Manifestation works only with alignment. Checking breaks alignment. Therefore, checking breaks manifestation. Once you stop monitoring outcomes, emotional stability returns. When emotional stability returns, identity stabilizes. When identity stabilizes, reality rearranges. And in the next chapter, we address the fear underneath checking, the belief that if you let go, you'll lose it. That fear is false, and detachment is not what you think it is. Chapter 5, Detachment is not giving up. Most people misunderstand detachment. They hear the word and panic. They think it means losing interest. They think it means settling. They think it means lowering standards. And because of that misunderstanding, they cling harder. That clinging is exactly what blocks everything. So let's be precise. Detachment is alignment without need. Say the phrase, detached does not mean disconnected. Again, detached does not mean disconnected. Detachment is not emotional withdrawal. It is emotional independence. You still want the outcome. You're just no longer dependent on it for your stability, and stability is power. This chapter exists to reprogram one belief that silently destroys manifestation. If I let go, it won't happen. That belief is false. In fact, the opposite is true. Most breakthroughs happen immediately after emotional release. Not after affirmations, not after effort, after release. Why? Because release removes resistance, and resistance is the only thing ever blocking you. Let's clarify something important. Attachment is not desire. Attachment is need with fear attached. It's wanting something while believing you won't be okay without it. That belief creates pressure. Pressure creates contraction. Contraction blocks flow. Detachment removes pressure without killing desire. That's why the phrase matters. Detached does not mean disconnected. Disconnected people suppress desire. Detached people trust fulfillment. One is avoidance, the other is alignment. Here's how you know you're attached. You feel anxious when it's delayed. You feel restless when it's quiet. You feel empty when it's absent. That emptiness is the problem, not the delay, because emptiness broadcasts lack, and the law of attraction mirrors it faithfully. Now let's talk about the moment everything shifts. There is a specific emotional release point that changes everything. It happens when you stop saying, "I need this to happen," and start saying, "I will be okay either way." That sentence is not resignation, it's authority. Because the moment you know you'll be okay, you stop negotiating with reality. You stop begging, you stop hovering, you stop forcing, and reality responds to that composure. Here are real patterns you've seen before, whether you noticed or not. Someone stops obsessing over a relationship. They genuinely let go. The person comes back. Someone gives up stressing about a job. They accept uncertainty. An opportunity appears. Someone releases control over timing. They stop caring as much. Momentum accelerates. People call this coincidence. It's not. It's alignment without need. Detachment removes the emotional demand placed on the outcome. And emotional demand is heavy. It weighs things down. Here's the tough love truth. If you are afraid to detach, it means you don't trust yourself yet. You believe the outcome gives you value. That belief has to go, because manifestation only stabilizes when self-worth is internal. You don't attract what completes you, you attract what matches you. So let's break down what detachment actually looks like in behavior, not theory, action. First sign of detachment, you stop rehearsing worst-case scenarios. Attached people imagine loss. Detached people don't bother, not because they're optimistic, because they're grounded. They don't mentally prepare for disappointment, they emotionally prepare for stability. Second sign, you stop negotiating timing. Attached people say, "It has to happen soon." Detached people say nothing. They don't rush reality, they let it catch up. Third sign, you stop seeking reassurance. No more "do you think this will work?" No more "is this a sign?" No more external validation. Detached people self-validate. They don't need permission to trust. Now let's address the biggest fear. People think detachment equals passivity. Wrong. Detachment is not inactivity. It's non-attachment to outcome. You still act, you still show up, you still move, but you move cleanly, without tension, without expectation, without emotional bargaining. That clean action is powerful. It's why people perform better when they stop caring. They don't actually stop caring. They stop overcaring. Overcaring is attachment. And attachment clouds judgment. Detachment sharpens it. Now let's talk about the internal shift that creates detachment. You stop asking, "How do I get this?" and start asking, "Who do I become regardless?" That question collapses need, because when your focus is identity, not outcome, you stop gripping. And identity is what the law responds to. Remember the core theme: alignment over effort, identity over desire, emotion over thought. Detachment stabilizes emotion. That's why it works. Now here's a powerful reframe. Detachment is not letting go of the desire. It's letting go of the belief that it controls you. You don't release the goal. You release the emotional leverage it has over you. That's freedom. And freedom is magnetic. People want to be around it. Opportunities move toward it. Outcomes align with it. Because freedom signals abundance. Scarcity clings. Abundance allows. Say the phrase again. Detached does not mean disconnected. Let me give you a practical daily exercise. Once per day, say this internally: "I want this, but I do not need it to be okay." Sit with the discomfort that arises. That discomfort is attachment leaving the body. Don't suppress it. Don't analyze it. Let it dissolve. That is alignment in action. Another instruction: when you feel the urge to force, pause. Forcing is fear pretending to be action. Instead, choose the smallest calm action, or no action at all. Stillness is not inaction when it's intentional, it's trust, and trust is the opposite of need. Here is something most people don't realize. Detachment speeds things up because it removes interference. You stop grabbing the steering wheel, you stop correcting the route, you stop micromanaging the process, and the path clears. This chapter exists because detachment is the emotional bridge between desire and reception. Without it, you oscillate. With it, you stabilize, and stability is alignment. This chapter connects directly to the last one. Chapter 4 taught you to stop checking. This chapter teaches you why stopping checking doesn't mean giving up. It means you've moved into trust, and trust is not blind, it's calm. Now we move to something even more subtle, something that quietly rebuilds attachment even after you detach. It happens silently. It happens internally. And most people never notice it. Your inner conversations, the things you say to yourself when no one is listening, they either reinforce alignment or undo it completely. Chapter 6, Your inner conversations are creating resistance. The loudest conversation in your life is the one no one hears, your inner dialogue. And if your manifestations are inconsistent, delayed, or unstable, this is why. Because silent self-talk is the hidden block. Say the phrase. What you repeat internally, you reinforce externally. Again, what you repeat internally, you reinforce externally. You can align emotionally. You can detach behaviorally. You can stop checking externally and still sabotage everything quietly inside your own mind. This chapter exposes the most overlooked mechanism in manifestation, not your thoughts, your conversations. Thoughts pass, conversations loop, and loops become identity. Most people are not consciously negative. They are unconsciously contradictory. They say one thing out loud. They say another thing inside. And the law listens to the inside. Let's be very clear. The universe does not respond to what you say once. It responds to what you repeat. Repetition is belief in motion, and belief is built in private. Here's what this looks like in real life. Someone says, I trust the process. But internally, the conversation sounds like this. Why hasn't it happened yet? Did I do something wrong? Maybe this won't work for me. Outward alignment, inward doubt. Guess which one manifests? Say it again. What you repeat internally, you reinforce externally. Another example, someone affirms abundance. They visualize wealth, but internally their running commentary is, this is expensive. I should save just in case. I can't afford to mess this up. That conversation is scarcity rehearsed daily, so reality confirms it. This is not because they are bad at manifesting. It's because their inner dialogue is more consistent than their affirmations. Consistency always wins. Your subconscious does not respond to motivation. It responds to familiar language, and whatever language you speak to yourself most often becomes your baseline reality. This is why awareness is everything. You don't need to control your mind. You need to hear it. Most resistance lives in unnoticed sentences, small phrases, quick judgments, automatic assumptions. They slip by undetected, but they accumulate, and accumulation becomes identity. Let's talk about contradiction. Internal contradiction is when you want something consciously, but argue against it unconsciously. An argument creates friction. Here's a common one. I want love, but internally, people always leave. Another, I want success. But internally, this probably won't last. Another, I trust things are working out, but internally, I need a backup plan in case they don't. These are not neutral thoughts, they are instructions, and they cancel each other out. The law does not choose sides, it mirrors coherence. When your inner conversation is split, results are unstable. This is why people manifest partially. They get close but not through. They experience momentum but not permanence, because the inner dialogue pulls them back. Say the phrase again. What you repeat internally, you reinforce externally. Now let's address a misunderstanding. You do not need to eliminate negative thoughts. Trying to silence the mind creates more resistance. The goal is not positivity. The goal is non-contradiction. You don't need perfect thoughts. You need consistent ones. Consistency creates clarity. Clarity creates alignment. Alignment creates results. So what do? You don't fight inner dialogue. You stop agreeing with it. Agreement is what gives inner talk power. Here's the process. First step, start listening without correcting. For one day, notice your internal commentary, especially around the thing you want, not to judge it, not to change it. Just to hear it, awareness breaks automation. Second step, identify the recurring phrases, not full thoughts. Phrases, things like, "This never works," "I always mess this up," "It's probably not happening." These phrases are identity anchors. They keep reality looping. Third step, withdraw certainty from the phrase. You don't replace it with affirmations. You simply stop believing it's true. You say internally, "That's a habit, not a fact." And you move on. This is critical. Replacing inner dialogue with forced positivity creates internal argument. Withdrawing belief creates silence, and silence is alignment. Now let's talk about the emotional layer. Inner conversations are not logical. They are emotional justifications. They exist to keep you safe. They predict disappointment to prevent shock. That's their function. So when you try to override them, the system resists. But when you observe them without reaction, they lose relevance. Your inner voice softens when it's no longer needed. This is how resistance dissolves, not through force, through neutrality. Here's a powerful reframe. Your inner conversation is not you. It is conditioning, and conditioning can be interrupted. Every time you catch a repetitive internal phrase and do not engage, you weaken its hold. No argument, no correction, just non-participation. Now let's look at real sabotage patterns. Someone starts aligning. They detach. They stop checking. But internally they keep saying, "This is taking too long." That sentence alone rebuilds resistance. Why? Because time pressure is lack. Another, "What if I mess this up?" That sentence reinforces fear of loss. Another, "I don't want to get my hopes up." That sentence keeps expectation low. Low expectation equals low reception. These are quiet. They feel harmless. They are not. They are instructions running in the background. Say it again. What you repeat internally, you reinforce externally. This chapter is not asking you to control every thought. It's asking you to stop rehearsing doubt. Rehearsal creates familiarity. Familiarity creates identity. Identity creates reality. Now here's the hard truth. If your inner conversation does not change, nothing else will hold. You can align emotionally. You can detach behaviorally. But if you keep internally narrating lack, delay, or failure, reality will comply. Because the law does not argue. It reflects. So here's your daily practice. At the end of each day, ask one question. What did I repeatedly tell myself today? Not what you hoped, not what you wanted, what you repeated. That answer tells you what you're reinforcing. Then do nothing about it except notice it tomorrow. Awareness precedes change, and change follows attention. This chapter links directly back to the book's core theme. Manifestation works only with alignment. Alignment requires emotional stability. Emotional stability is undermined by unconscious inner dialogue. When your inner conversations soften, resistance dissolves. When resistance dissolves, identity stabilizes. And when identity stabilizes, manifestation becomes inevitable. In the next chapter, we move from removing resistance to actively embodying alignment, not pretending, not visualizing, becoming, because the fastest way to manifest is not to think differently, but to be differently. Chapter 7, Become the Outcome Before It Arrives. Everything you have learned so far leads to this chapter, because this is where manifestation stops being conceptual and becomes embodied. Here is the truth most people resist. Identity precedes evidence. Say the phrase, "Be it first." See it later, again, be it first, see it later. Reality does not convince you to change. You change and reality confirms it. This is the collapse point. The moment time shortens. The moment effort drops. The moment results accelerate. Most people are waiting for evidence to permission themselves into a new identity. They say, I'll feel confident when it works. I'll relax when it shows up. I'll believe when I see proof. That sequence is backwards, and backwards sequences never complete. You do not become confident because it works. It works because confidence became normal. You do not relax because it arrives. It arrives because relaxation became your baseline. Say it again, be it first, see it later. This chapter is not about pretending. It's about embodiment. Pretending is external performance. Embodiment is internal consistency. The law of attraction does not respond to acting. It responds to being, and being is revealed through behavior, not visualization. Let's dismantle a common mistake. People think embodiment means copying surface-level habits. They dress differently. They speak differently. They mimic confidence. But inside, their emotional state hasn't changed. That's performance. Performance collapses under pressure. Embodiment holds. Embodiment is subtle, quiet, grounded, and incredibly powerful. Here's the rule. You don't ask, what would the successful version of me do? You ask, what would feel normal to them? Normal is the key, because identity is not defined by peak behavior. It's defined by default behavior. What you do when no one is watching, how you move when nothing is happening, what decisions feel obvious, not dramatic. That's identity. And identity collapses time. Here's how this works practically. Posture. Yes, posture. An aligned identity does not physically collapse inward. They don't hunch, they don't shrink, they don't guard. They occupy space comfortably. So here's an instruction. Sit differently, stand differently, walk differently, not dramatically, naturally. Posture feeds the nervous system information, and the nervous system determines emotional baseline. Next, decisions. Aligned identities make decisions without emotional negotiation. They don't over-explain, they don't over-justify, they don't seek approval, they choose and move on. So ask yourself this. Where are you delaying small decisions? That delay is identity lag. Start deciding faster on low-risk things. Food, schedule, boundaries. Decisiveness trains embodiment. Next, emotional neutrality. This one matters. People think embodiment means feeling powerful all the time. Wrong. Power feels neutral. Power does not spike. Power does not crash. Power is steady. The more emotionally neutral you are about your desire, the closer you are to embodying it. Why? Because neutrality signals familiarity. Familiar things don't trigger emotion. If you won the lottery tomorrow, it would feel intense for a while. Then it would feel normal. Normal is the end state, and the law responds to end states. Say the phrase again. Be it first, see it later. Now let's address resistance. People say, but isn't this delusional? No, delusion ignores reality. Embodiment responds to it differently. You're not denying current circumstances. You're refusing to let them dictate identity. Circumstances are temporary. Identity is persistent. Persistent things shape temporary things. Another misunderstanding. People think embodiment means acting as if externally. No. Embodiment means responding internally as if. Same situation, different internal reaction. That's the shift. Example, a delay happens. Old identity reacts with frustration. Embodied identity reacts with neutrality. Same delay, different signal. Another example, someone doesn't respond immediately. Old identity spirals. Embodied identity remains steady. Same silence, different outcome. This is how embodiment collapses time, because you stop resetting lack every time something doesn't go your way. Now let's be very clear. Embodiment is not a one-time decision. It's a pattern of small, boring, consistent behaviors. And boring is good. Boring means stable. Stable means aligned. Aligned means inevitable. Here's a powerful internal question. How would this version of me react if this outcome were guaranteed? Not optimistic, guaranteed. That version wouldn't rush, wouldn't chase, wouldn't overthink. They'd proceed. Proceeding is embodiment. Waiting is hope. Proceeding is alignment. This chapter directly connects to everything before it. Chapter 1 taught you to stop hoping. Chapter 2 taught you identity shapes reality. Chapter 3 taught you emotion is the signal. Chapter 4 taught you to stop checking. Chapter 5 taught you detachment. Chapter 6 taught you inner dialogue awareness. This chapter shows you how to live from the new identity now, not later, not when it works, now. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you are unwilling to embody the outcome emotionally, you are not ready to receive it physically, because embodiment is rehearsal. And the law responds to rehearsal. Whatever you practice being repeatedly becomes familiar. Whatever becomes familiar becomes normal. Whatever becomes normal manifests. Say it one last time, be it first, see it later. This is the chapter where many people feel resistance, because embodiment removes excuses. You can't say, I'm waiting. You are always being something. The only question is whether you're embodying the old identity or the new one. And in the next chapter, we address something that prevents embodiment from stabilizing, something subtle, something many mistake for passion, but it's actually misalignment. And it keeps people emotionally oscillating instead of grounding. Chapter 8, Alignment feels boring, and that's why it works. This chapter will challenge your emotional addiction, because most people are not blocked from manifestation by negativity. They're blocked by intensity. They mistake emotional stimulation for alignment. They confuse excitement with certainty. They confuse anxiety with passion. And that confusion keeps them oscillating instead of stabilizing. Here is the truth you need to hear. True alignment lacks emotional drama. Say the phrase, calm certainty is the final signal. Again, calm certainty is the final signal. If manifestation feels like a roller coaster, you are not aligned. You are entertained, and entertainment does not produce results. Stability does. Most people are addicted to emotional spikes, high highs, low lows, constant movement. They call it motivation. They call it inspiration. But it's nervous system instability, and instability sends a fragmented signal. The law of attraction does not respond to emotional volume. It responds to emotional consistency. Consistency is boring, and that's why people don't trust it. They think, if I'm not excited, I must be off track. Wrong. If you're calm, grounded, and unbothered, you're closer than ever. Let's dismantle a common misconception. People believe manifestation should feel exhilarating. Butterflies, anticipation, energy surges. That feeling is not alignment. That feeling is anticipatory anxiety. Excitement and anxiety share the same physiological signature. Racing thoughts, elevated heart rate, future fixation. One feels positive, one feels negative. But to the nervous system, they're the same, and the nervous system is what broadcasts alignment. So when you feel excited, ask yourself, is this calm or is this charged? If it's charged, it's not alignment. Alignment is emotionally flat, not empty, not numb, flat, because flat means familiar. And familiar is the frequency of manifestation. Think about anything you already have. Your phone, your home, your daily routines. They don't excite you. They don't stress you. They feel normal. Normal is the end state, and the law responds to end states. This is why alignment feels boring. Because boredom is a sign that something has integrated into identity. You're no longer trying to convince yourself. You're no longer rehearsing desire. You're simply living, and living is powerful. Here's where people go wrong. They chase emotional intensity thinking it will speed things up. They listen to hype content. They visualize dramatically. They stir emotion, and then they crash. Up, down, up, down. That cycle resets lack, because every emotional drop reaffirms it's not here yet. Alignment does not spike and crash. Alignment hums, quietly, consistently. Say it again. Calm certainty is the final signal. Now let's talk about why boredom scares people. Boredom removes distraction. When things get quiet, inner doubts surface. Old identity tries to reassert itself. So people avoid calm. They seek stimulation to feel progress. But stimulation is not progress. Regulation is. This is why people sabotage right before breakthroughs. Things get quiet, still, neutral, and they think something is wrong, so they stir the pot. They check, they worry, they re-engage old habits, and alignment breaks. Here's a key insight. If nothing is happening externally but you feel calm internally, you are doing it right. If everything is happening externally but you feel chaotic internally, you are off track. External movement means nothing. Internal stability means everything. Let's ground this with examples. Someone meets a new romantic interest. Old pattern, intense chemistry, overthinking, obsession. They call it alignment. It's not, it's trauma bonding. New pattern, steady interest, calm curiosity, no urgency. They call it boring. It's not, it's secure. And secure relationships last. Same with money. Old pattern, big wins, big losses, emotional reactions. They call it momentum. It's not, it's volatility. New pattern, steady income, neutral spending, calm planning. They call it boring. It's not, it's abundance. Abundance does not announce itself emotionally. It integrates quietly. This chapter is asking you to stop chasing feelings. Alignment is not a feeling. It's a state of emotional neutrality and expectation. Expectation without excitement. Confidence without arrogance. Trust without reassurance. That state is rare, and that's why it works. Now let's get practical. Here's how you know you're aligned. You stop thinking about the desire constantly. You stop needing updates. You stop emotionally reacting to delays. You live, and life expands. Here's how you know you're misaligned. You feel restless. You feel charged. You feel like something needs to happen soon. That urgency is not intuition. It's fear, and fear is loud. Alignment is quiet. So here's your behavioral instruction. Stop interpreting emotional intensity as progress. Intensity is not a signal of alignment. Stability is. When you feel calm, don't assume you're losing momentum. Assume you're finally not interfering. Another instruction: reduce consumption of emotionally stimulating content. Too much hype destabilizes your nervous system. You don't need to feel motivated. You need to feel grounded. Grounded people manifest consistently. Hyped people manifest sporadically. Another instruction: practice being okay with nothing happening. Sit in stillness without planning, visualizing, or checking. This trains tolerance for calm. Calm is alignment's home. Now let's address a final fear. People worry that if alignment feels boring, life will lose meaning. It won't. Drama will lose meaning. Peace will feel richer. Focus will sharpen. Joy will deepen. Because joy without anxiety is clean, and clean joy doesn't need intensity. It needs presence. This chapter reinforces a critical pillar of the book. Manifestation works only if alignment is sustained. Alignment cannot be sustained through emotional spikes. It is sustained through calm certainty. Say it one last time. Calm certainty is the final signal. If you take nothing else from this chapter, take this. When things feel quiet, steady, and emotionally uneventful, you are closest. Do not disturb that state. Protect it, because it is rare and it is powerful. In the next chapter, we address one last habit that quietly disrupts calm certainty. It sounds reasonable, it sounds logical, but it places you beneath your outcome, and it keeps you waiting instead of expecting. Chapter 9: Stop asking the universe to prove itself. This chapter corrects a subtle but fatal mistake, one that feels reasonable, logical, even spiritual. Asking the universe to prove itself, looking for confirmation, waiting for reassurance. needing evidence before you settle internally. And here is the hard truth. Demanding proof puts you beneath the outcome. Say the phrase, expectation bends reality faster than effort. Again, expectation bends reality faster than effort. The moment you ask reality to show you something before you trust it, you have already placed yourself in a lower position. Not morally, energetically. You have said, I'll believe it when I see it. And the law responds, then you'll see it only after belief arrives. This chapter is about reclaiming authority, because manifestation does not respond to requests, it responds to position, and asking for proof is a submissive position. Expectation is a dominant one. Let us be clear, trust is not passive, trust is authoritative. People confuse trust with hope. Hope waits, trust expects. Expectation is not emotional hype, it is internal assumption. Assumption is powerful, and the universe obeys assumptions far more reliably than affirmations. Here's what most people do. They visualize intensely, they affirm aggressively, they push belief through force, and then they ask, is it working? That question alone dismantles everything they built, because the question implies doubt, and doubt collapses authority. The universe does not need convincing, it needs clarity, and clarity comes from expectation. Let's look at real behavior. Someone says, I trust the universe, but then they ask for signs. They look for numbers, they analyze coincidences. That's not trust, that's negotiation. And negotiation means you don't believe you're in charge. Aligned people don't negotiate with reality. They assume cooperation. That assumption is quiet, unspoken, stable, and stability bends reality. Say the phrase again. Expectation bends reality faster than effort. Now let's talk about visualization. Visualization is not wrong, but forceful visualization is often compensation for lack of trust. People visualize harder when they don't expect results. They add emotion, they add detail, they add repetition. They think more effort will make up for lack of assumption. It doesn't. Effort cannot replace authority. Here's a key distinction. Visualization works when it reinforces expectation. It fails when it replaces it. If you visualize because it feels natural, fine. If you visualize because you're worried it won't happen, stop. Worry contaminates the signal. Expectation cleans it. Now let's ground this with a simple example. When you place an online order, you don't visualize the delivery truck every hour. You expect delivery. That expectation is calm. You might check once, then you move on. You don't ask the company to prove it deserves your trust. You assume competence, and because of that assumption, you're relaxed. That relaxation is authority, and authority attracts cooperation. The same principle applies to manifestation. When you ask the universe to prove itself, you imply incompetence, you imply doubt, and reality mirrors your implication, not to punish you, to match you. This is why quiet expectation outperforms forceful visualization every time. Quiet expectation doesn't announce itself. It doesn't explain. It doesn't argue. It simply proceeds. People with authority don't ask for reassurance. They expect alignment, and alignment responds. Let's talk about signs again. Asking for signs feels harmless. But here's what it really says. I don't trust my internal state. And if you don't trust yourself, the universe won't override that. It will reflect it. The law does not lead you. It follows you. So if you lead with doubt, it follows with delay. Now let's be direct. If you are constantly asking, is this right? Is this aligned? Is this meant for me? You are outsourcing authority. And manifestation does not work from outsourced authority. It works from embodied expectation. Expectation is not arrogance, it's congruence. You expect because it matches who you are being, not because you demand it. Demand is force. Expectation is position. Force exhausts. Position attracts. Say it again. Expectation bends reality faster than effort. Now here's how you shift this. First instruction: stop asking questions that place you below the outcome. No more "will this work? Am I doing it right? Is this going to happen?" Replace questions with assumptions. Assumptions don't need answers. Second instruction: notice how you speak internally about timing. If your inner dialogue sounds like waiting, you're asking for proof. Expectation sounds like continuation, not anticipation. Third instruction: let go of the need to feel convinced. You don't need emotional certainty. You need positional certainty. Positional certainty says, "This aligns with me." No drama, no buildup, just alignment. Here's the hardest truth in this chapter. If you need proof to trust, you don't trust yourself. And manifestation is self-trust externalized. You are not asking the universe to prove itself. You are asking yourself to feel safe. So instead of asking for proof, stabilize internally. Stability creates expectation. Expectation bends reality. Now let's address fear. People think if they expect and it doesn't happen, they'll be disappointed. But disappointment comes from attachment, not expectation. Expectation without attachment is calm. Attachment demands outcome. Expectation allows it. And allowance is powerful. This chapter ties directly back to everything before it. Chapter 4 taught you to stop checking. Chapter 5 taught you detachment. Chapter 8 taught you calm certainty. This chapter teaches you authority. Authority does not ask. It assumes cooperation, and reality cooperates. Here's a final reframe. Instead of asking the universe to prove itself, ask yourself, am I living as if this is handled? If yes, stop interfering. If no, adjust internally. That's it. No signs, no tests, no proof. Expectation is enough, because expectation is alignment in motion. And in the final chapter, we bring everything together. Alignment is not a moment. It's a discipline, a daily way of being. And when alignment becomes your default, manifestation stops feeling like work. It becomes inevitable. Chapter 10, Alignment is a daily discipline. This is where everything becomes real, not conceptual, not motivational, not occasional. Real. Manifestation is not a moment. It is maintenance. And if you treat alignment like an event, you will keep slipping back into resistance. Because alignment is not something you achieve. It is something you practice. Every day, in small ways, often boring ways. Say the phrase, alignment today decides reality tomorrow. Again, alignment today decides reality tomorrow. This chapter installs the final truth. You don't manifest once. You live aligned or you don't. And whatever you live, you repeat. Most people fail here, not because they don't understand manifestation, but because they don't respect consistency. They align when they feel inspired. They drift when life presses back, and life always presses back. So if alignment depends on mood, it will not last. Alignment must become a discipline. Let's redefine discipline. Discipline is not force. It is decision. A decision to return to alignment faster each time you drift, because drifting will happen. The difference between people who manifest consistently and those who don't is simple: speed of correction. Aligned people don't panic when they feel off. They notice, they adjust, they continue. Unaligned people dramatize, they analyze, they spiral, they restart. That restart cycle is exhausting. Alignment as a discipline removes the need to restart. You just correct. Now let's make this practical. Alignment is not about controlling circumstances. It's about managing response. Circumstances don't break alignment. Reaction does. So the first daily discipline is this: monitor your emotional baseline, not your peaks, not your crashes, your baseline. Ask yourself daily, how do I feel when nothing is happening? That is your alignment state. If your baseline is anxious, you're leaking resistance. If your baseline is rushed, you're leaking need. If your baseline is calm, you're aligned. Calm does not mean happy. It means settled. Second, daily discipline. Check your internal posture. Posture is not just physical, it's energetic. Are you bracing? Are you leaning forward internally? Are you waiting? Waiting is misalignment. Alignment feels like continuation. So ask, am I waiting for life to begin or am I already living? Third, daily discipline. Audit your inner language, not affirmations, assumptions. What do you assume about outcomes? Do you assume delay? Do you assume struggle? Do you assume it will work out? You don't need to force positive thoughts. You need to remove negative certainty. Certainty is powerful, good or bad. So replace certainty of struggle with neutrality. Neutrality creates space. Space allows alignment. Fourth, daily discipline. Reduce emotional spikes. People think emotional intensity fuels manifestation. It doesn't, it destabilizes it. Alignment is emotionally economical. Less drama, less urgency, less reaction, not suppression, regulation. If you get too excited, settle. If you get too discouraged, settle. Settle is the key word. Settled energy manifests consistently. Say the phrase again. Alignment today decides reality tomorrow. Now let's talk about routine. Aligned people have boring routines, consistent sleep, predictable mornings, grounded habits. Chaos breeds resistance. Structure supports alignment. This is why your environment matters, your phone usage, your media intake, your conversations. If you constantly stimulate fear, comparison, or urgency, alignment cannot stabilize. So discipline includes input control. Not everything deserves access to your mind, especially not opinions. Next, discipline. End your day aligned. How you fall asleep matters. Sleep is a rehearsal state, so stop reviewing problems before bed. Review certainty. Not outcomes posture. Ask, did I respond aligned today? If not, correct internally. No shame, no guilt, just correction. Alignment is not moral, it's mechanical. Now let's address resistance returning. Resistance will return when you overattach, you overcheck, you overexplain. When that happens, do not fight it. Do not affirm harder. Return to neutrality. Return to calm. Return to expectation without need. Expectation without need is mastery. This entire audiobook has been moving you toward one identity, not a manifester, an aligned individual. Aligned people don't chase, they don't convince, they don't beg reality. They move through life with quiet authority, and authority comes from consistency, not perfection. Consistency. Miss a day, correct the next. Feel off, settle, react emotionally, recover faster. That's discipline. Now here's the final truth of this chapter, and the entire book. Manifestation is not about getting more. It's about resisting less. Alignment removes resistance, and resistance is what delays reality. So your job is simple, not easy. Simple. Live in a way that does not contradict what you want. That's alignment. No rituals required. No constant visualization. No emotional theatrics. Just internal congruence, moment by moment. Decision by decision. Alignment today decides reality tomorrow. And tomorrow is always being built now. This is not the end. This is the standard. Carry it, practice it, live it. Because once alignment becomes your default, manifestation stops being something you try to do. It becomes something that happens as a side effect of who you are. The law of attraction has never failed you. It has only matched you. Every delay, every block, every disappointment was feedback, not punishment. Once you stop chasing, stop checking, stop hoping, and start aligning, reality has no choice but to follow. Alignment is calm. Alignment is certain. Alignment is non-negotiable. Your challenge is simple. For the next 24 hours, stop asking when. Stop looking for signs. Stop needing proof. Align internally and let reality catch up. Because from this moment forward, you don't wait for manifestation. You expect it.